This video brought to you by Morphin Network is sponsored by Ranger Stock Convention, which is November 13th to the 15th, 2020 in Orlando, Florida. Go to rangerstoporlando.com for more info.
This is Cosmo Royale, host of the intergalactic game show Galaxy Warriors, and you're watching the Morphin Network.
So
Good evening, California. Good morning or afternoon, or wherever you're watching this in New Zealand.
Afternoon in New Zealand.
Afternoon, New Zealand. And Campbell, I gotta ask, because it's now been becoming a tradition. How's quarantine life?
Oh man, I actually thought I was really going to enjoy it. I figured, it's the downtime. I get some gardening done. I have a list of things to do. I've got nothing done, and I sort of feel and it's not true. I got a few things done, but I sort of feel like I've learned the hard way. I don't like being confined. I got to get out and move around. So. Yeah, it was a challenge, but I'm not complaining.
I was gonna try to take archery, like just grab like a bow and arrow, but
Right.
the Big Five around the corner from my house is closed because apparently it's not an essential business.
What?
Yeah. Like you would think, because when people thought this whole thing was gonna be like it was like 28 days later and Resident Evil. Everyone's like, you would have thought everyone's gonna get the hunting stores like Big Five, Walmart. No, they closed Big Five, and Sporties. Oh wait, Sporties has been closed. Never mind. The point of the matter is, Big Five got closed, and I'm like, really? Okay, so much for trying to hunt elk.
Oh my god!
Hello, everyone. Welcome to this special live stream interview with our none other the veteran, legendary Power Ranger voice actor himself, Campbell Cooley.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me.
Yes, you guys don't know, Campbell is the current voice of
Damn.
There he is.
Scrozzle. He was also the voice of Cosmo Royale. It's so slow. And of course, the voice of Admiral Malcor from Megaforce, and a lot of voices in the past too.
And many other voices.
Yeah, he does a lot of Power Ranger voices, so he's a veteran actor, so even more experienced than the actual actors. So.
Whoa! I wouldn't go. Let's say things we can take back.
Don't fighting words, Ryan. Come on,
hey, it's true. You are a legend in this.
Oh my god.
Anyway, Campbell, it's an honor. So thank you for being.
No. Honestly, it's an honor for me to have been invited onto the show. Thank you for having me.
Awesome. So let's get the interview started. So Campbell, tell us about yourself.
Oh. Okay. I wasn't going to share this, but I'll just go ahead and start it off. So life for me, I was 6 weeks late. I don't know why, but my mother tells me I was 6 weeks late. So I don't know if there's something to read into that, but clearly I was happy where I was. And anyway, I shouldn't have brought that up. I was born into a naval family. So my father was in the Navy, and we moved around a lot, and literally we never really stayed in one place for very long. We moved like every 2 or 3 years, and I think I was an okay kid. I wasn't a super bad kid. I occasionally got up to mischief, but I think that was more me experimenting, like, what's this being bad thing feel like? For the most part, I think I was a pretty good kid. And then I was not the popular kid in school. I didn't really I didn't have a lot of friends. I mean, I had friends, but I kind of kept to myself. And I did some plays when I was in high school. And I think maybe one of the reasons why my life has kind of unfolded the way that it has is that I remember as a child, I couldn't focus on one particular thing. It's like I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life because I was interested in everything. I wanted to understand and learn everything, and of course, you can't do that. So when I started university, my freshman year, I was taking science classes, mathematics, communications courses, that sort of thing. And then when I became a sophomore, I started taking some theater classes. And I really, personally, and I'm ashamed to say this, I kind of drifted through university. I didn't really know where I was going with my life and what I wanted to do. And before I realized that I had earned a theater degree. So I was like, so I got the theater degree, and I said, oh, well, I guess I'm going to be an actor. So I did theater for a few years, and I acted and I directed. And then I had a kind of a rethink about my life, and I just had like a complete overhaul, and I ended up moving to New Zealand because I needed a change. And when I got here, I found that it was even harder to, work as a theater actor because there's not as much work. So I realized, well, I need to kind of expand my horizons. So I got a film and television acting agent. And within a few weeks, I was auditioning for films and TV and such. And it wasn't until several years later that I got a voice agent. And I suppose that's a kind of nice overview of my life. I'm probably forgetting things and leaving stuff out, but maybe I can circle back and touch on them later.
First I want to say thank your dad for his services and stuff. I have family who are in the Navy and are in the Marine Corps, so thank you.
Same here.
Oh, much appreciated.
Uncle's in the Navy, 4 years.
Yeah, but how did you get started with voice acting?
There's voice acting. Okay. So even though I think I've done fairly well as a film and TV actor here in New Zealand, despite the fact that it's a small market, it's a really small market, even though we get productions from overseas coming here. And I suppose much like most acting industries around the world, regardless of whether you're in Los Angeles or Vancouver or wherever, you've got this many actors and you've got this much work. So there's a constant struggle to get work. And so even though I did quite a bit of work as a film and TV actor, I kind of felt like for the lean times when things maybe when I wasn't getting work, I needed to expand my horizons. And people had told me for years, they said, "Well, you have a great voice. You should become a voice actor." And I was like, "Oh, no." And eventually, I did get a voice agent. It was kind of a fluke because what happened was I'd had trouble getting a voice agent. And then at the time, the casting director not just the casting director, he's also the voice director for Power Rangers. He was only seeing actors from voice agencies, and he decided to throw a wider net. So he contacted some acting agencies, and he contacted my agent. And he says, "Do you have any Americans on board?" Because obviously it's an American show, and they need American accents. Because all monsters have American accents. And I'd never thought about that till just now. And so he contacted my agent, and she said, "We got this guy," and I got to audition for a guest monster on SPD, and I got it. And then it just kind of snowballed from there. It turned out they brought me back for each subsequent season, and then I also got into doing all the looping voice work, which is all the background sounds. And then as time progressed, I started doing bigger parts and ongoing characters. And then about 4 years ago, I started also assisting the ADR director. So I'm, in addition to doing voice work for the show, I'm also now directing the voice actors and directing the voice monsters and directing the loop group and everything. So that's kind of the simple answer how I got into voice acting.
Basically, what was the audition process was like for Power Rangers, and where did you actually start? Like, what season did you really start with Power Rangers?
Right. I think before I did my first voice audition for the show, I had auditioned for some characters, like acting roles on the show, and they didn't eventuate, which is fine because the people they cast were perfect. I think that they absolutely made the right decision on those choices. And then, but the audition process is for voice work is, I suppose in some ways it's very similar to acting work. But the main thing that I learned the hard way is like in as much as you're able to, try not to be the first person that you audition. Like if they're auditioning for a character or something, try not to be the first person auditioning for that character, because what'll happen, sometimes they're still trying to get a sense of who is this character, what are they like, and so the first person who auditions for them may end up becoming like the test run, where they get that person to like, try it this way and do it that way, and and then by the time they've figured out what they don't want for the character, they say, okay, thank you, you're done, and you go. You haven't really given an audition. So and that's happened to me a few times, and that's okay. But the audition process for Rangers is always it's always a really good experience. I mean, I've auditioned for a lot of other things, and sometimes it can be quite daunting and intimidating. But the environment for Power Rangers is very relaxed, and they're the guy who's the primary ADR director. He's a lovely guy, very, very patient, very relaxed, very gentle, knows how to get the best out of you. And I would say that's probably why I'm now also assisting, because I've learned from the best. So I don't know if that fully answers the question. So if you feel like I've missed something, please ask me to be more specific.
Oh no,
I think you got it. Okay. It's actually it's really cool that you not only are you a voice actor, you're also like helping with ADR. That's actually really cool.
Yeah, so you're basically like also like a mentor role.
Oh, I hadn't thought of it that way. I suppose so.
See, so you are a mentor.
You are the go-to guy.
You're the GOAT right now. You're the GOAT of ADR. See?
Now, how can we translate that into like a role on Power Rangers?
Hasbro. Just kidding.
Yo, Hasbro.
No. It's okay. Honestly, I'm very happy with what I've done so far. So anything above that is a bonus.
Speaking of Power Rangers, what is your experience like? Voice acting on Power Rangers. You've been on multiple seasons, so what is the experience like?
Well, I mean, I suppose it depends on the role that you're doing. I mean, going back to what I said earlier, in terms of like working in a safe environment, it's very relaxed, it's very comfortable. It's overall it's a really great experience. But if you're doing a character where the voice is quite taxing, and if it's a big part, then that can get quite that can be quite daunting. I've done a few roles where I just pushed, but because there was so much dialogue, by the end of the session, I either didn't have a voice left and I couldn't speak for 2 days, or there've been a few times where you're doing the fight sounds like, and it just takes so much out of you that one time I actually nearly passed out. But that's partly me, because I just go guns blazing. I don't hold back. I think there are probably techniques you can do where you only emit 50% of the energy that you need to, and you can achieve kind of the same thing. Me, I just I just give everything I have, and then it's like, I hope we got it on that first take because I got nothing left.
You stay at 100 when you do that stuff.
Yeah. So, and I remember for me, one of the more taxing jobs was, I think, like for the most part, doing the voice of Admiral Malcor, I could get through it if it was only say 20 lines per episode. I could kind of get through it. And then I remember, by the end of it, I'd be really tired, and my voice would need to recover. And I remember I got I think it was a phone call or an email from the ADR director when we got to the end of Malcor's story, and he said, "I'm going to send you your script for your final episode, and I got to warn you, it's going to be big." And I was like, "Big? What? Yeah, 30 cues, 35 cues. You know, it was like nearly 80 cues." which doesn't sound like a lot if you haven't been a voice actor, but it's like 80 cues is like, how am I going to do 80 cues? And I only had 3 hours to record them all in. So literally just finished just under 3 hours, and my voice was just gone for 2 days. Other times, depending on the character, sometimes you don't finish the session. In that particular session, we kind of had to finish that day. Because there was a deadline. But there have been a few other sessions where maybe I just didn't finish the session. Like, you know, usually with Snide, there was probably a few sessions with Snide that I didn't get through. For the Halloween episode in the first season of Ninja Steel, I think it's called. Is it called Grave Robber? I think it's Grave Robber.
Yeah, it's Grave Robber. Yeah.
Grave Robber. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't finish that episode. I got halfway through that, and my voice was just gone. So I just said I have to come back in 3 days and finish this. So, you know, the downside is, like, if you're doing like a lot of monster voices that are quite taxing, then the experience may not always be that great. But I mean, the overall experience is wonderful. I love doing voice work for this show. I literally view the place where we record this place is like my second home. In fact, I've joked with the guy that owns the studio. I said I should have a cot over in the corner because I practically live here. There was another story, another thing, voices and something. Oh, maybe it'll come back to me. But yeah, so there've been a few tough sessions, but you know, it's all for the glory of Power Rangers and the fans.
Awesome. For the greater good.
Do you have any fun behind the scenes moments while working on Power Rangers of any season?
There's plenty of stories. It's just that I have a really bad memory. I think I could probably tell you. I've probably already told you one or two. Like, there was that one time where I nearly passed out during a session. There was. I could probably share this story. So we were auditioning for. We were auditioning for the current season, and somebody came in to audition for the voice of Cruz.
Okay. And
he did, and he's a good voice actor. I mean, really great voice actor. He comes up with these really interesting little characters, and he did his audition. He was really good, and the primary ADR director said, like, you know, oh, so is that all you got? And he said, is that all you want to do? And he says, well, I've got this one more idea. And we're like, yeah, sure. What is it? He said, well, he's called Cruz, so can I do the voice of Tom Cruise? And we were like, you can. I don't think it'll fly, but sure. So we're playing back the visuals of, you know, Cruz, you know, in his first scene where, you know, he's introduced to everyone, and this guy is doing an impersonation of Tom Cruise, and it was just like, oh, this is so surreal.
Which Tom Cruise? Top Gun Tom Cruise, Days of Thunder Tom Cruise, Eyes Wide Shut Tom Cruise, Mission Impossible Tom Cruise.
Yeah, probably some of his earlier work. He was really intense, you know.
Outsiders Tom Cruise. Okay.
Outsider, there you go.
So, needless to say, it didn't get picked. But it was like, you know, that's one of the great things about working on Rangers in the voice section, is that, you know, we're very open to creativity. We'll allow people to, like, try all kinds of things. But at the same time, it's really important for us to make sure that nobody's going to push themselves too hard. I remember I was auditioning an actor for, gosh, I don't remember if it was the current season or the previous season. And this guy had come in, I think it was the previous season, the current season. And this guy came in and he'd done something for us during Ninja Steel, and he came and I brought him back in, and he was doing this phenomenal voice. I mean, it was just like, I thought, oh my gosh, that's beautiful. And he got about 3 lines into the audition, and then I suddenly realized something, and I stopped him and I said, I'm going to stop you right there. And I'm sorry to stop you, but I'm stopping you because I'm almost afraid if we submit this audition, you're going to get the part. And he went, well, what do you mean? I said, be honest with me. If you get this part, are you going to be able to sustain this voice if you're given like 40 lines of dialogue? And he said, no. I said, that's why I'm stopping you, because I don't want to wreck your voice. But in the end, we ended up getting something else out of him, and he did get cast for the season. So it's a very safe environment. It's very creative, and we allow for all kinds of even Tom Cruise impersonations.
So what's funny is, like, watch, imagine after this interview, people will put like audio of Tom Cruise on Cruise's
Oh no! What have I started here? Oh, I'm sorry. Don't do that.
I love Katie
Oh, by the way, Disney Brain saying Sensei Cooley.
Hey, Disney Brain.
Disney Brain is one of my favorite channels. That guy is brilliant. He is. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Disney Brain.
Sensei Cooley. What's just kidding. Anyway, so now the Power Ranger fandom the Power Rangers have been going for 26 years now, and the fan base is really great. What are your thoughts on the Power Ranger fandom? Because without them, this franchise would not be as it is right now. So what's your thoughts?
Absolutely. I'm gonna rewind a little bit in order for you to understand my answer. So, I'll start with the answer first. They're amazing. I mean, I am absolutely just astounded at the fandom. Now, in order for you to fully appreciate that statement, we have to rewind, maybe even 20 years. Something I've come to learn about myself, one of my weaknesses as, I suppose, someone who works in the film industry is I don't want to be famous. I have no interest in being famous. And once I started getting work on film and TV and everything, there were certain fans of certain things that I had worked on that would get in touch with me, and they said, oh, we love your work, and we want to do this thing for you, and we want to build this page for you, and we want to do this. And I was really flattered, and I was really touched by it. And I couldn't bring myself to say no. So I kind of let things run their course. And then I started to realize, this is raising my profile. I don't want to be famous. So I kind of backed off after a while and just kind of tried to remain in relative obscurity. And then once I started working on Power Rangers, to me, and I started back in 2005 with SPD, to me, I didn't realize how successful and popular Power Rangers was. To me, it was just work. You go in, you do the voice, and even after I did like the voice of Alpha for one episode, to me, it was just a job. And I don't think it was until about maybe Ninja Steel where I started to kind of realize I'm a part of something kind of big. Now, the full reality, wasn't there, but intellectually the gears were starting to turn. And, I would go online and I would see, things about conventions. And even then it was still it was kind of an intellectual reality. It was still kind of distant. And then I suppose in the wake of the current season, it's like I've shifted from first gear into fourth. And now I'm like, oh, wow, this is real. This is really big. I still kind of don't fully get what I'm involved with. I'm I know that sounds naive because, everyone on social media is wonderful. Everyone is just so lovely, and there's so much talent out there, and the artists, the art just blows my mind. And the cosplay and the people, with the action figures, and some people building action figures, and I've watched just about every convention video I can find out there. And even though it's kind of like, wow, I'm a part of this, on a certain level, the reality hasn't hit me. And I suppose it won't fully hit me until I've done my first convention. And then I'll be like, oh my gosh, what am I involved with?
Hey, no worries, Campbell. Next year, we will happily make you comfortable and happily greet you with welcoming arms.
Well, thank you. And I gotta say, the fandom is just spectacular. I mean, I was so touched by all the people that came together and donated for Robert Axelrod and for so many other, things. And it's such a beautiful community. And I'm excited, but I'm also terrified for my first convention. So,
hey, don't worry, we got your back.
We got your back. Don't worry.
We got you.
Well, I'll visit your booth like time to time. No worries. That is it.
I will buy you food if that's the case. We'll chill. We're gonna eat lunch.
You don't have to buy me food, but you just hang out.
All right, cool. What's your experience what was your experience like during Power Rangers Ninja Steel? Because you voiced quite possibly my favorite character in Ninja Steel, Cosmo. So, what was the experience like with Ninja Steel?
Thank you. Okay, well, again, I'll rewind slightly. So, and I've already touched on one specific thing. So that was the season where I was asked to kind of start assisting as an ADR director. And it was also the first season where I ended up doing 2 villains simultaneously. So, but I suppose, I'm sorry, I've jumped ahead. So let me rewind even further. So the, going back to something I said earlier, like the audition process, it's a great process. It's very relaxed, really enjoyable. But again, you don't want to be the first person auditioning for any specific character. And something that I haven't shared with people is that I was the very, very first person to audition for Galvanax. And normally, in the past, the way it's worked is they would just bring in actors and they'd show you a picture what the monster looks like and maybe say this is his power and whatever. And then they would just let people improvise. And whatever comes out, comes out. In Ninja Steel, they did something a little different where they had kind of like some suggestions for certain characters. Like, we kind of view this character kind of like this, and this other character maybe kind of like this. So the brief for Galvanax was that he was kind of like this washed up former champion who, so a lot of people were thinking like, okay, think like World Federation Wrestling or something. Not that I'm suggesting anybody in World Federation Wrestling is washed up or anything, but like, somebody who'd been doing it for 40 years and that was all, and so so knowing that Galvanax had been like this champion and now he'd kind of he was just kind of coasting on his reputation, I thought, okay, you know what I'll do? I'm going to play this like he's been hit in the head so many times while wrestling that he has trouble forming sentences. So I was doing the dialogue kind of like he was, he's kind of struggling with, and needless to say, it didn't wash. And we experimented with a whole lot of different things, and it was okay. I mean, the guy they ended up casting for it was perfect. He was just wonderful. I thought he was absolutely the perfect choice. And then there was kind of a description of maybe what they were going through for RipCon. And when I saw the description, I thought, oh, that's that's not really what I would do for this character, because Ripcon is quite intimidating looking, and I wanted to go in the, the kind of the opposite direction. I wanted him to be more scary and more menacing. But I think the reason that they were suggesting this other direction is that you can't have another monster sounding like Galvanax. Otherwise, you have two monsters in competition with each other. So they needed to kind of make him more distinct than Galvanax. And given that Ripcon probably wasn't the brightest light on the Christmas tree, because he was eventually betrayed by Madame Odious, and then there was that whole thing with him and Brody, and Brody swapping the thing with the mop. He's like, so I kind of, because I wanted the job, I followed the brief, and that was the voice that came out. And then they were doing the recalls. And to the best of my knowledge, I was the only person who was recalled to come back for Ripcon, which is really usually kind of a good sign. It means like you're the only one they're considering. And so I was going back, and remember that I'm also working as the ADR assistant. So I was getting to see everyone else's auditions, and then I think one day they flashed up this thing on the screen, and it was Cosmo. And I was like, oh man, that's the role I want to play. That just looks like such a fun character. I'm tired of doing these kind of like really horrible villainous monsters, and Cosmo just looked like a lot of fun. But the thing is, we were so far into the audition process, now that we're doing the recalls, that it wasn't practical for me to try and suggest, hey, can I audition for this as well? So I was just happy that I was being recalled for Ripcon. So I showed up for my recall, and the producer Chip Lynn was present, and he was overseeing all the recalls. And I did my recall for Ripcon, and it was about the same as what I'd done for my audition. And I think maybe there was like 2 people left to audition for the recalls, and then that was it. They were going to make their decisions as to who got cast doing what. So I came out of the audition booth, and Chip was very complimentary. Chip's a genius. I mean, he knows exactly what this show needs to be, and he's always very supportive and nurturing. And he surprised me. I came out of the booth, and he said, "Oh, that's really good," and everything. And out of nowhere, he said, "Can you do Charlie in the Box?" Now, for our younger audience members right now, Charlie in the Box is a character from a 1964 animation called Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. And Charlie in the Box, he's like a defective toy. He's defective because he's supposed to be a Jack in the Box, but he was named Charlie in the Box. And his line to Rudolph when he first meets him is, "Nobody wants a Charlie in the Box." So Chip said, "Can you do Charlie in the Box?" And I said, "Nobody wants a Charlie in the Box." And he said, "I want you to audition for Cosmo." Okay, I will. So I went out to prepare in the lobby, and the next 2 people came in for their recalls. And then I went in to audition for Cosmo. And I kind of put a little bit of a Mad Hatter spin on him. So he wasn't quite as depressed as Charlie in the Box, and he had a kind of more whimsical quality to him. And about 10 days later, my agent called me, and she said, "You're doing Ripcon and Cosmo." And I was like, wow. I was just blown away. And I have to say, Cosmo is one of my all-time favorite characters. I loved doing Cosmo, even though sometimes it was a bit of a strain on the voice, because it's kind of like the opposite of the other monsters that I've done, where it's all kind of down here and everything, and you're putting strain on your voice in that way. Whereas Cosmo's at the upper end of the scale, and your voice kind of goes into this falsetto mode. So there were a few times I didn't finish sessions, but for the most part, I loved doing Cosmo. And I'm not ashamed to say that in order to do the voice, very often what you see Cosmo doing on the stage at Galaxy Warriors, that's what I was doing in the booth.
Oh,
so physically, I was all over the place.
Oh, before we move on, so fans are actually asking. So you guys don't remember what Ripcon looked like? He looked like this. So
Yep.
Yeah, guys. Oh, so one of our members, he's actually not here. He asked this question for you. This specific question. Let me see what I got. Oh, if Cosmo ever fought the Rangers personally, should this be his battle phase? So he's talking about this one from the Sentai.
Oh yeah, Baron Nero. Yeah, that would be interesting. I could see that.
So
I still say Cosmo is not, because apparently Cosmo died in the series finale, and he just said no, he didn't. No, he didn't.
No, he did not. That's just a
he went to another galaxy as a game show host there.
Yeah, he's alive.
And they've established now that it's a multiverse, so there could be a Cosmo from another multiverse who crosses over. So
from Earth 3, which is Dino Charge, and Earth 2, which is RPM, he's somewhere.
He's alive.
Living his best life.
Cosmo must be alive. I want him to come back.
Cosmo's alive. Look. When the new show comes out, I want Cosmo to at least make one episode appearance. Just one.
So this is a Beast Morpher question. And no, guys, it's not season 2. How did you come up with the voice of Scrozzle in Beast Morphers? So what was the inspiration of getting that voice?
Wow. This is I haven't told this story. 9 times out of 10, when I see a picture of the character I'm auditioning for, 9 times out of 10, the voice will just come to me. Sometimes there might be a little bit of delay. Like I'll see the character and I have to find inspiration, but eventually it comes to me relatively easily. With Cosmo, this was the first time I had no idea what to do for this character. I had, excuse me, I had an inspiration from a character from a 1960s TV series, because there were similarities in the character, like they were both geniuses and they were both kind of, when push comes to shove, they're both cowards, and just a lot of similarities. So I was trying to take inspiration from that character, but the problem is that whenever I tried to do something that emulated that voice, he ended up sounding like Cosmo. And I was like, that's not going to fly. So I literally fretted for about a week. Like, what am I going to do for this voice? I was at a complete loss. So I think it was the morning of the audition. It was about a half hour before I had to drive in. And I was standing in my bathroom looking in the mirror. And I was like, I got nothing. I have no idea what I'm going to do for this character. And I was terrified. I thought, oh my gosh, this is not going to look good if I go in there and I have nothing to present. So I just tried to force myself. I just tried to force something out of me, so at least I had something to present, so that I wouldn't embarrass myself in the recording booth. And I pushed and I pushed and I pushed, and nothing was coming out. And then eventually, boom, the voice came out. And I heard it and I thought, ooh, I don't know about that. I don't know if that works. So, but I thought, you know what, it's something. So, I recorded it on my phone so I could remember what it was. And I went in to do the audition and I did the voice, and I walked away thinking, not going to happen. I was not convinced I was going to get it. And then like a week or so later, I found out that I got it. And there's always been something kind of weird about the voice that Scrozzle has taken a while to grow on me. I don't love him as much as, say, Cosmo or Snide, but Scrozzle is slowly growing on me. And I think part of the problem is that because we haven't been given any backstory on him, it's hard to know how to build the character. And so, sorry, I just lost my train of thought. So there's something about the voice that I haven't quite, I couldn't quite figure out. I was like, what is it about this voice that's annoying me? And I finally figured it out maybe like a month and a half ago, is that in order for me to do the voice, I have to push my vocal cords just to the point of cracking. So in order to maintain the voice, I have to like do the voice where I'm just constantly on the edge of cracking my voice, and it feels really uncomfortable. And there have been a few times where I've been like maybe in the booth recording the character, and it sounds like I've suddenly hit puberty, like just crack. But I will say this: he's grown on me. I have truly grown to love Scrozzle. He's a kooky little character, and I think I understand now why they went with that voice. But that's a conversation for another time.
You've been talking so much about voice acting. Do you have any advice or any inspiring actors and voice actors?
To quote Vernon Wells, "Get out now while you're ahead." No, look, I'm kidding. I'm not going to say anything profound that people haven't already heard or that they don't already know. All I can say is that it is a really tough industry. Don't be fooled by the supposed glamour of, what you see on TV or in the movies or anything. It is a really tough industry. And it's not for people, if you don't handle rejection well, this is not for you. So I would say if you know absolutely nothing else is going to make you happy, then by all means, pursue it. But understand that you may spend many years, struggling, and you go through a lot of hardship. But probably the most important thing, and I just love Vernon Wells, and I love when I was listening to his interview, he said something that just so resonated. It's like, when you do get work, it doesn't matter, how big or small the job is, be professional. Don't goof around, just work as hard as you can and be as professional as you can, because the people that goof around, or they don't learn their lines, or they think that, they're going to coast by on their good looks, they're not going to last long. So, and I'm not trying to turn anyone off from pursuing their dreams. Just know what you're getting into before you do it.
Yeah, hard work, perseverance. Go for it,
man. Have tough skin, because reject. You're gonna always face rejection in life. So
it's like a job interview. It's like a job interview. So like, if you don't like you, move on.
Yeah.
Sure. So final question. So besides Power Rangers, Campbell, it's any upcoming projects that you could tell us or can't tell us.
The problem is that with every project, anything you work on, you pretty much are sworn to secrecy until it gets released. The only thing I could probably mention is, I think there's a possibility, if we because of the current virus thing and everything, if we manage to go into production for Dino Fury, I will probably be doing something for the show, maybe as maybe directing voices or something. I don't know at this stage, but trying to get my life organized for that, and apart from that, just spending time with my dog.
Oh.
What breed is he?
I was gonna introduce him during the interview, and I thought, no, he'll just start barking, and I've left him at a friend's. But there is a picture of him on my Twitter page somewhere. He's a rescue dog. He's we think he was about 6 months old when he got rescued, and somebody had abandoned him, and he was found wandering in the middle of the road, about to be run over, and he'd been really badly treated by whoever had him before. We think he is half Shih Tzu, half Bichon. And yeah, he's my boy. He's my baby.
Excellent. That's so cute. Well, guys, this ends a 10-question interview. So thank you for staying this long. And now we go to competent questions. So, before we start, so disclaimer, please, guys, no questions of season 2 of Beast Morphers, or the second half, please. Disclaimer.
Yeah. If you ask, we're just gonna tell you this: Thanos is coming. That's it. Yeah, that's all.
Bye bye. So Blake Allen Davenport, it says, "Hey guys, what's up, Blake?"
Hey Blake, how you doing, dude?
Hi, Blake.
Jen saying hi, one of our members.
Hi.
Hey, Jen.
Luis Espero, one of our members too, says, "Sup, guys?"
Good to see you.
Timothy says hi.
Hi, Timothy.
Ellis Everett says hi.
Hi, Edward.
Okay.
Oh, he said hello, Scrozzle, so I should probably respond. Oh gosh, I hate being put on the spot like this. I always struggle with the Scrozzle voice. Hello. I can't do it right. I gotta be in a voice booth when I do. You know what? I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it somehow. It's like so. Edward says hello, Scrozzle. Hello, Edward, from the cyber dimension.
Yeah!
Ken saying, also, did Cosmo remind you of the mayor from The Nightmare Before Christmas? Oh, shoot, yeah, he did. Sound like him.
Yeah, he kind of was.
Oh, so, another request, if you can do it. Only if you can do it, Campbell, can you do Malcor and Cosmo?
Okay, I'm really, as you can tell, I'm really bad at improvising, okay? I need a script in front of me, but I will do what I can. So for Malcor, if memory serves, the voice was something like, and I'm just making up dialogue here. A human city destroyed by one bug. Perhaps conquering Earth would be easier than I thought. So there's Malcor. And Cosmo. Welcome to Galaxy Warriors, the show where the mightiest and fiercest monsters come together to take it for a chance to pull out one of the ninja power stars.
That was amazing. I actually love that.
Mr. Cosmo, here's your Starbucks.
No, this is totally wrong. No, I won't drink this.
Oh no! Don't kill me, bud.
Timothy Dak is saying, how was it voicing Alpha 6 in Operation Overdrive, the 15th anniversary Monster Ranger?
Thank you, Timothy. In a good way, it's probably strange that I didn't know how popular Power Rangers was at that point, because I think there would have been a lot of pressure for me to do the voice. And in my personal opinion, the original voice will only ever be the voice of Alpha. So I was really just being given an opportunity to kind of, fill in. And it was, I liked it. I really did enjoy it. And once I was done, I was kind of like, oh, I kind of like for them to bring Alpha back. Because it's kind of nice playing a hero for a change.
Mm-hmm.
And, I mean, of course, it doesn't get more iconic than,
Ay, what would Zordon do?
Damn, that was good. Bravo.
Hasbro, please bring Alpha back for the Dino team up so we can get Mr. Campbell in booth. Please, thank you.
Or in the future. Anyway, Seth Martinez. Oh, would you? Oh, you already answered this. Would you be interested in coming back for Dino Fury? I think you did answer that, did you?
Thank you, Seth. I would love to come back for Dino Fury, but just because I've done all this work in the past is no guarantee that I'll get any work in the future. Obviously, I'm going to do everything in my power to get an audition, but if it doesn't work out, I'm just grateful for all the work that I've gotten to do up until now, and just be content with that.
No. Timmy Dak is saying his favorite alien monster is when you voice Tomar's in SPD episode. Oh, okay.
Yes. Yeah, my very first voice on Power Rangers. The inspiration for that, if memory serves, was when I saw what he looked like. He kind of looked like this big cat with scales, and he had this very big grin. So I think I was kind of inspired by the Cheshire Cat in Alice in Wonderland from the 1950s animation, So I don't know if I could do the voice now. I think he was kind of like, no, I can't do the voice. I'd have to have a script in front of me. So like I said, I'm a terrible improviser.
Johnny Marzo, he's asking another request. If you could do it, can Campbell say in Scrozzle, curse your angels get you for this Captain Man, and that goes for kid. Oh my god.
Oh my god.
Oh my god. I know what you're talking about.
Let me just do a screen capture of that. Gosh. Captain Man.
Kid
the thing is, I don't know what my contract will allow me to do at this stage. So I may have to just play it safe and say, maybe not right now, but I've just taken a screen capture of the line. And if, Johnny, if you get in touch with me later through Twitter or something and I find out that I can do it, we'll happily record it.
So that's pretty much the comments so far. Fox, I know you have some other questions for Mr. Campbell.
Yeah, so I just have a couple. So,
Oh my gosh.
outside Power Rangers, you did Xena for a couple of episodes. What was it like being on Xena?
That was, again, it was another thing where I didn't realize at the time that I was doing work on one of the most popular shows in the world. And it was really interesting because I got to play 4 different characters for 4 different episodes. Most of them were bad guys. I think in almost not the last episode, but I think the first 3 I got whacked by Xena at some point. I think I remember there was an episode I was in called "In Sickness and in Hell." And it was kind of like the comedy episode for season 4. So it was very Monty Python-esque. It had all kinds of bizarre humor. And there was, to date, at the time, in 1998 when we shot it, it was like the biggest thing I'd ever done. And there was a scene there was a day where it was literally just me, Lucy Lawless, and Renee O'Connor filming. And it was just the 3 of us the whole day. And that I was really nervous that day. I thought, oh my gosh, I'm and I was chatting with one of my one of the other actors on the show for the episode, and he just kept saying, dude, you're gonna be great. It's not gonna be anything. It's gonna be so easy. And somehow he managed to just kind of calm me down, and I got through the day. And at the end of the day, it's kind of silly that I was nervous because they're just people like us, and we're just there to work and try and be professional and have a good time. And so it was kind of silly that I was so nervous, but I was young, I was naive. I didn't know better.
But hey, you were in Xena. So
yeah.
And my last question, outside of Xena, you're also in another really hit show called Spartacus.
Oh my gosh.
What was it like being Spartacus? What was it like being in Spartacus?
That was intense. That was really intense because, as you know, it's a fairly graphic show. Fortunately, I didn't have to do anything compromising. I'm probably one of the few people that got to keep their clothes on. Thank goodness. And I remember because there was a fight scene. There was one scene that I was in where it was a fight scene between me and NMAS. And I don't last very long, but I remember I got brought in to train for that fight scene with the stunt coordinators. And it was part of the, I forgot what it's called, but it was like a regiment where all of the stars of the show and the stunt people would go in every morning at like 5 o'clock and they would just work out for 3 hours.
Oh, I've done those workouts before.
And I got called in to be a part of that. And by the end of that, I was just like, I am so out of shape. So I did my training for the fight. And then unfortunately, most of the actual stuff I trained for got cut from the final scene. Yeah, but it was still a great scene. And I really loved working with Peter Mensa. He was outstanding. He was so wonderful. And, he didn't in between scenes, he didn't go back to his caravan. He was sitting with the cast and we were all chatting and, but it was, it was an intense experience. And I love period pieces. So it was kind of cool to get to do something in ancient Rome.
TV Dash saying, will you come to Ranger Stop in Orlando, Florida someday? So
if somebody will invite me, absolutely.
Mikey, you watching this? Mikey's our boss. There you go.
You know what must be done, Mikey.
Mikey,
okay.
you know what must be done. So Tawny is saying, if you could voice a ranger in a future season that only requires your voice, would you do it?
Absolutely. I would love to do something like, Xenowing or, some other kind of non-human, or human, Power Ranger character. For me to be able to voice a ranger would be, I couldn't ask for more to work on the show. I would die a very happy man.
Live the dream. So that's pretty much it. So again, guys, thank you so much for being part of this special interview. Oh, before we end this interview, let's give a shout out to our sponsors. Fox, since you're drinking your oh my gosh. Anyway, ready?
Go ahead. Yep. This video brought to you by Morphin Network is sponsored by Ranger Stock Convention, which is in Orlando, Florida, November 13th to the 15th, 2020. Go to rangerstopporlando.com for more detail.
Excellent. So, Campbell, where can you find you on social media?
Good question. I'm primarily on Twitter. I do have a Facebook account, or maybe two, but I don't really use Facebook that much anymore. So if you try to reach out to me and you send me a message, there's a good chance I won't get it for months. So if I don't respond, don't take it personally. And I am trying to venture into Instagram, but it's just right now, just keeping up with Twitter is enough. But I do have an Instagram account, but it's just got 2 pictures on it so far. So I've got a long ways to go.
Excellent.
So my Twitter account is just Campbell Cooley.
Leonard, where can I find you?
Just put dogs in it. Don't worry. Everyone.
Just put dogs. Yeah, and it'll be great.
Right.
You guys can find me on Twitter, Instagram at @TheReckless_Fox. Follow my YouTube page, Reckless_Fox, and follow all my latest game content on twitch.tv/RecklessFox. If you want more content, myself and a couple of other members of Morphin Network do our own gaming podcast every weekend, the Scrozzle Gaming Podcast. So find us on SoundCloud.com/Scrozzle Gaming. Ryan, where can they find you?
Instagram, DancerBoy247, and please follow us at YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And MySpace, Friendster, Face. I'm just kidding.
And usernames.
Well, guys, thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me. I can't thank you enough. I've really enjoyed this.
So Campbell, I do have one final request. If you could do it, can you say you're watching Morphin Network in your Cosmo Royale voice?
Okay, so you're watching the Morphin Network.
Yes.
Okay. You're watching the Morphin Network.
Thank you so much. All right, guys. Thank you so much for the special interview. Good night for guys, and good morning to or wherever you guys are. But guys, good afternoon. Okay, guys. Thank you so much. As we keep an update for our future podcasts or interviews. And again, till again, see you guys. Bye.
See you.
See ya.